Okay, preconditions for imitation. We have immediacy, formal similarity. And in formal similarity, we are going to say that it has to be physically resemble each other and they have to be the same sense mode. And remember that this is what we were talking about, but verbal operands need to have this. Some of them do, some of them don't. Okay, guys, so what do we mean by same sense mode?
Like you said, if it's written, it needs to be written. If it's spoken, it needs to be spoken. It can be spoken and the other one is written. That's not, the same sense.
Perfect. And it has to be physically resembling, like you see thumbs up here. They're not exactly the same, but they're resembling each other. One is a little crooked. Okay, so the next one is the model. Basically, there needs to be a controlling relationship between. There needs to be a controlling relationship between the. Espérate, I'm trying to mute. It doesn't go. Okay. Between the model and the similar behavior. How do we know that there's a controlling relationship? Do you guys know? I'm going to tell you right now. That's why we're studying it. Go ahead, Rita, if you want to say it. Here's why. Because the therapist models a new action and the client imitates it with no prompt.
No prompt, right.
So that's how you know that that they have a controlling relationship. The modeling and the imitations have a controlling relationship because there's no prompt. And which means that there's no reinforced, it has not been reinforced before. And it also has not been reinforced before. Basically, it needs to engage in a new action. It's a little tricky, so I'm going to give you an example, okay? The therapist models thumbs up, one thumbs up. Client doesn't do thumbs up, right? Then the therapist might physically guide the client to a client after repeating the model of thumbs up and reinforcing successive approximation of this praise. So basically, I just model thumbs up, and I want the client to do this. He doesn't do it, so I'm like, and then, you know, a little bit later, we prompted, we prompted and we shape it, and then it finally does it. Okay, awesome. So now, for us to do an imitation, a true imitation, it cannot be this and this because it's not new. It will have to be the therapist does two, for example. 2 thumbs up, that would be the new one. This is the old one, that the learned one, the one that was previously reinforced because you were teaching it. And now we're doing the new one, which is this one. When the client does this, then that's imitation. Because it's the new action that has not been reinforced before, and there's where we have the controlling relationship. Any questions about that? No questions, that's good. The therapist models 2 thumbs up. An hour later, the client does the 2 thumbs up gesture. Did the client engage in the imitative behavior? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Not
immediate.
Not immediate. Look, Vanessa, what you were talking about.
That's so funny.
Yeah, isn't it? So using shaping, according to Vanessa and Jenny, shaping, the visual that we use in your heads, it's like sculpturing. So when do we use shaping, guys? We use shaping when we want to create new behaviors. Who knows what is an essential element of shaping? Differential reinforcement. Why is differential reinforcement an essential element of shaping?
Because that's how you get to reinforce successive
Approximations, yes?
yeah.
Perfect. So basically, I'm gonna give you an example right here. The therapist draws a happy face and the client draws this, the circle, right? The therapist praises and helps him to finish the happy face, right? So then the next approximation is the therapist asks the same, draw a happy face. Then the client draws this. Does the therapist praise here?
Yeah. Where?
In the circle. Does the therapist praise when the client does the circle in the second type around?
No,
No.
we already did it the first time.
Perfect. So when is the therapist going to praise?
After he does something new beyond that.
In this case are the little eyes, right? So in the third time, the client does the circle. Does the therapist praise there?
No,
No.
Still the same thing.
The client does the circle and the eyes. Does the therapist praise there?
No.
No. So the client finishes the face with the mouth. Does the therapist praise there?
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. So using the example of the sculpture, I was thinking that it's like making a sculpture. Like once you see the guy, once the guy does the nose, he doesn't touch it. So don't touch it, don't reinforce it. Just move on to the next part of it. Okay. So I mean those visuals help me because I used to just the wording between shaping and chaining, I would be like, what? But then I use the visuals and I immediately disconnected both of them. So what is a behavior chain?
Sequence steps.
Yes, good. So let's put it into, so basically it's a number of individual stimulus response components that occur together in a sequence. So this is the response, one response component, right? Then another one, then another one, and then another one. And all of them together, they make a behavior chain. They also, in the book that I read, Miltenberger, they also called it a stimulus response chain. Each response in the chain produces a stimulus change that acts as an SD for the next response in the chain. So this one is an SD for the next response. And that's the tricky part about the questions, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I have an example here. Let me see. Make this thing disappear. All right, so I have an example, brushing teeth. The first one, the SD would be, SD1 would be toothbrush and toothpaste in the hand. The response would be put toothpaste in toothbrush. So what is the SD, the second SD? If the first response is put toothpaste in the toothbrush, what is the second SD?
The toothpaste on the toothbrush.
Exactly. So that so is exactly what you said. So then it goes on and on and on until the last one. Is the last one the response number 5, for instance? Is this one SD?
Last one is not an SD
What is it?
because there's no 6. Is there a step 6?
No, there are no more steps. I just finished it there. So what is it an SD? No, because it's just then it's reinforced, right? Then there you get the reinforcement. Okay. So types of chaining. We have 4. That one I do think we know, right, guys? Who can tell me at least 2 of them?
Forward chaining,
Backward training,
Nice. Good job.
training with leaps.
Good.
total chaining. Yeah. Oh, someone said that already.
Full task, yeah.
Total task.
Total task.
Okay. So that one is this. Forward chaining. Who want? If you find that easier, then let's talk about it. What is forward chaining? Who wants to talk about it?
You start from the beginning of the task, and then the client doesn't proceed until like step 2 until the first one's actually mastered.
Awesome. Yes. Perfect. And then you move on to 2, to 3, and let's say you end up at 5. Good. So total task presentation. That one's a little more tricky for some people. Who knows it and wants to talk about it?
I can do it.
Go ahead.
Total task presentation is when you do the full chain each time. And if you need to prompt to complete it, then you prompt it, but you keep moving, you do the entire chain.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so backward chaining.
Backward training. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Backward training, it's like the behavior interventionist do all the steps and then the client do the last steps. And then once he gets to do the last step, then the behavior interventionist will do all of the steps before the last 2 steps, and the client do the last 2 steps, and then move forward.
Okay, who remembers what's the good thing about backward chaining that forward chaining doesn't have?
Instant reinforcement.
Yes.
You get to get in contact with the reinforcement faster.
Yes. Good job. Thank you.
And,
Rita.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
and also the client can explore to all the steps that he needs to learn as well.
Thank you. Perfect. Your name is Yang Hong?
Yes.
Yang Hong. Thank you,
Yeah.
Yang Hong. So backward chaining with lips ahead.
It's the same thing. You know, it's similar to the regular backward chaining, except that all the steps are not necessarily, you know, taught.
Exactly.
You can skip, you know, the one that the client already knows.
Exactly. And you answered the question that I was going to ask, which is when do we use it? Right? We use it when clients know the steps, like some of the steps, right? And we don't have to be on top of them.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. That was really fast. That was really good. Okay, so conduct task analysis, that is D07. So basically is breaking down the behavior chain into steps. Somebody wants to talk a little bit about it? What am I referring to here?
Task analysis. Yeah, breaking down into smaller steps.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically is for you to be able to conduct the chaining, right? All these ones, when you break them down into steps, you need to write them down. And what you do when you write them down, that's the task analysis. Okay?
So it's actually the assessment of it.
Exactly. It's also the assessment and what you use to teach it, to the paper that you follow, right? And how do you break down those steps? You could do 2 things as far as I can remember. You can
do it. You can observe an expert.
Good.
You can speak to an expert about it.
Yes.
And you can try it.
And if it's something like toothbrushing, then the therapist can just do it herself, right?
Yes.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
So you say the difference between the training and the task analysis, is it the different kinds of training, it's just a method, and then the task analysis is the actual, the technical, technical terms of like how to write it down, but training is the same as task analysis?
Basically, you do a task analysis. You come down and you do this. Let's copy and paste this. You write these steps down.
So I think what she's saying is the task analysis is like the technological part of it, like the steps to follow, how to. I think that's.
So it would be like this, right? So it would be something like that. So that is what you're gonna do. You do step 1, step 2, step 3. That's what it is, the task analysis, this breaking down. And you're gonna use that paper, that same paper, or that same evaluation, that same structure that you created for any of this. They're all gonna, whether you use forward chaining or total task presentation or any of the for brushing the teeth, you're still gonna use the same one because they're the same steps. And here, you're gonna figure out how you're gonna teach it. This is the way to teach it.
So talking about the 7 dimension, is that the task analysis is technological, and then the different types of training is the conceptual systematic?
That's a good one.
I think technological makes sense for the task analysis, and the conceptual systematic, I think it's for both. But that one, don't quote me on that because you're using ABA, right?
Yeah.
For both, you're using ABA for both.
Okay, thank you.
But wouldn't you have to, for it to be systematic, conceptually?
Breaking down again?
Wouldn't it have to include the reinforcement and the punishment and the 3, things?
The conceptual, we can look up more information, paste it and put it in Facebook for the conceptual systematic one, and I'll make a note on it.
Conceptual systematic is the usage of terminology or using ABA principles, right? It's like when you're writing a report and you use different words of ABA to describe it.
Yeah, that's why I was, thank you, Claudia. So that's why I was saying that task analysis is still ABA. So
correct. Yeah, you're right. It is, right.
Conceptual systematic.
Right, but it is, when you write it all out, it is technological because that's what.
And it's also technological.
But that's an interesting question. What is the action of chaining? Maybe it's the behavioral? I don't know.
Remember, all of those sometimes depend on the way the question is framed, right?
Yeah, that's why it's so hard.
So that's why we shouldn't memorize it this way, because it all depends on how the question is framed. Because if, let's use the technological for conduct task. Okay, which one? We said that conduct task analysis could be technological. But let's use technological for types of chaining. If I'm writing up a program, right, and I'm writing step by step, explaining to the teacher how she can conduct a forward chaining with a child for brushing the teeth, is that technological, guys?
Yes.
Yes, because I am doing I'm breaking it down into step by step. So you see what I mean? It all depends on the way the question, the scenario is framed. Yeah. That's why it tricks us so much, because sometimes the scenario has everything and then the questions has something completely, like, you have to focus specifically on what the question is asking. Yeah. Okay, the last one is D08. I can't believe it, but we've gone faster than I thought. Use discrete-trial and free-operant arrangement. This one is discrete-trial. Basically, the information that I found is one opportunity to give one response and get the reinforcer. For example, what color do you see? Green. That's it. You're going to be reinforced for green. You're not going to be reinforced for anything else because that's the only one opportunity that I give you, one response that you can get, and the reinforcer for that thing. So free-operant arrangement is unlimited opportunities to unlimited responses to get unlimited reinforcers, or opportunities to get reinforcers. So for example, what color do you see? Oh, I see green, I see yellow, I see red, I see blue. All of those I can be reinforced. I can get reinforcement for any of those.
Rainbow.
So that was all, guys. We finished. I am so happy we finished. I thought we weren't gonna have time.
Great job, Jenny.
Hey, yes, Isabel?
Yes, go ahead.
Question. Can you go back to slide, numbers in front of me and now I can't see them.
Tell me the name, or what is it that you wanted?
It was there was 3 things mentioned. It was for what was it? Slide
Imitation?
14.
Was it
Slide
about imitation?
Yeah, I think it is. Is there 4 of those, or is there 3 conditions?
I found 3. I have it in the. I actually found that in the Cooper book. So what is the other one that you think it's happening?
In my notes, and I'm trying to figure out where I get it from.
Guys, how much time do we have left? I just don't want us to.
It may be the BAS that you're looking at because they have 4 listed, but
Yeah,
they separate the model
control
and the controlling
relation.
relation.
No idea where I got it from.
Well, they just separated the model and the controlling relation, and in this case, she combined it.
Oh yes, that's the way Cooper has it. Because there's no the model needs to have the controlling relationship. There needs to be a controlling relationship between you as the therapist doing the model and the student imitating what you just modeled.
Got it.
Cooper has it written down really simply, really easily. But like I always say, depending on the book that you read, you're gonna get a little bit slightly different.
Yeah.
So, do you guys wanna go over go over anything else that we have here in the slides, or are you good?
I would like to know, like, how do I say which one is response prompt and which one is stimulus prompt? I think I missed that one.
Well, for that one, I can ask them to explain it to you because I explain it in details and they know it already, right, guys? Guys?
You did a good job. You did a good
All
job.
right, someone be the teacher now. Someone else.
Guys, I always say, I am tired of hearing my voice. So we're gonna do stimulus prompts. So what's the key thing that I said? What's the exam tip that I gave you? And that's gonna help you pass all the section B.
You
Stimulus
said
is
that.
touched in some way.
Yeah. It was actually very good.
Okay, so what they were saying is that, go ahead, who wants to say it?
In stimulus prompt, the prompt is on the stimulus itself, on the SD. Whereas in response prompt, the prompt is on the learner or not on the SD.
Yeah, whoever's providing the response.
Perfect. So the key question I would ask ourselves is one question only. Is in the scenario or the question or however they frame it, is something happening to the stimulus? 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 Is something happe Is it something move? Is the therapist touching it? Is the therapist moving it? Is the therapist changing the color or the size or anything like that? If the answer is yes, then it's response prompt. If the answer is no, then, I mean, I am so sorry.
No,
The
if
answer is yes, it's a stimulus prompt. If the answer is no, it's response prompt.
Okay.
Does that answer your question or no?
I think so. Yes.
Because if
One
you
example.
were, Mhm.
You have one exercise. Sorry.
We
The
can
one
pick up one.
The one that is a little bit confusing on that is that if you put up a sign, it's actually a response prompt, even if the sign is on the item.
Uh-huh.
Is this so? Yeah, you're right. That's the
A
confusing
response
one.
prompt.
So when you see a sign, let's say, flush the toilet when you're done,
Right,
that's a response prompt, correct?
correct. Because it's a verbal, it's a sign, it's a picture, it's written words.
Okay. Now, how can that same sign, that same saying be turned into a stimulus?
I'm going to tell you right now. Think about redundancy.
Okay. Make it bigger, make it smaller, change
Right,
it.
or painted red. Have you ever seen a handle in the toilet painted red?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's painted red and it's still the same sign, then what is it?
So in the question, they would have to tell you something about that something is happening to the stimulus. Something is changing to it. So for example, an example that a BCBA gave me that I loved it was, she's like, think about the lights in Las Vegas. You know how everything is lit up, like, come here, get married here, you know, like that. It says, marry in, I don't know, chapel of Elvis Chapel, right? Elvis Chapel. That's the verbal response prompt, right?
Mhm.
Right.
But then around it, what does it have?
Lights.
Lights. And sometimes it also goes in and out, and then it has Elvis singing on the side. What are all those?
Stimulus prompt.
Stimulus prompt.
So in the question, they ask you, they say that scenario, right? There's a sign pointing to, you know, there's a sign, chapel, Elvis Chapel, right? And then it says, and it has lights, and it goes from green to red to purple. So the question says, the part of the sign that says Elvis Chapel, is that a response prompt or a stimulus prompt?
Stimulus.
Response prompt. This sign.
Because it's a sign. Anything verbal. Signs, pictures, words.
Oh.
Yes.
It's a response prompt.
Yes. Are you doing something to the stimulus? Are
No.
they? No. Okay, so now let's think about it. The same scenario, right? I don't have to repeat it. So the lights that are around the sign, or maybe they don't say so many things. They just say the lights. What is that?
That's the stimulus.
Stimulus prompt. Is the light doing something to the stimulus?
Yes.
Yes, they're put around the stimulus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a stimulus prompt and it's redundancy.
Right. That's a good example. Thank you, Yeni.
You're welcome. We have to put Elvis here somewhere.
Elvis has left the building.
Elvis, Las Vegas lights. Let me see what comes up. Anybody else has any other questions? There you go, guys. We got it.
Or stimulus prompt. It's funny.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think Rivera has a lot of stimulus prompt, man. This is like over the top.
But where it says Riviera is actually a response prompt. That's just the because of those two, it's so confusing. And so it's just.
Yes. So the Riviera part, just Riviera, that's the stimulus prompt.
No, response prompt.
Oh my God. Ugh, I'm not even thinking anymore. I'm looking at the mesmerized.
So signs, written words, and all of that are
Response prompt.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to like details on this one.
Yes.
Because me and Damien were talking about this earlier, and we're like going back and forth about it now because all right, I'm going to totally take away from like the sign thing for a second just to see if we can work through this. So let's say you're doing like DTT, like, you're doing discrete trial or with a child, right? And you've got, 3 cards in front of them, or actually scratch that, money. Okay. You have a quarter, a nickel, and a dime, and you're trying to teach them IDing of the money. A stimulus prompt would be, so let's say they're working on quarter and they just can't get it. You would take like a green piece of paper and place it underneath the quarter. That's a stimulus prompt.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. We're on the same page with that. So like, I get that, but transferring that type of idea to like a sign when it's just the word, it's like, to me, a response, it's like, yeah, you're looking for a response, but a sign is telling you to do something or where something is, like Rivera. But when you add lights to it,
It's both.
yes.
It's both. It's kind of like if you saw a sign that says throw it here and with an arrow to the wastebasket. The arrow.
Whole, like, process of thinking here, but like, that's how I needed it as far as like, because I use those type of stimulus prompts with clients. So it was like me trying to transfer like the same idea and put it in perspective as far as like, because the signs is really throwing me off here. Like,
so I guess if we know that the sign and the written words is always a response, because I'm thinking that in a scenario, question scenario from the, it would be specific. What purpose is the sign versus what purpose is the lights, for instance, so with
Guys,
that.
we're only missing we have 2 minutes left. Just keep that in mind.
Right.
In case we get
Good job.
Rita, thank you. So the thing that is confusing us, look at it here, is verbal, is the response prompt. The type of prompt that is confusing us is verbal.
Right.
And the type of stimulus prompt that is confusing us is redundancy. Memorize those two like the back of your hand, and then the question has to have a difference. It has to. There's got to be something that tells you whether it's one or the other one. There's no way that.
Even if we have to open up a chat for like I don't know who's available, but does anybody have? I mean, are we able to like? I need to see if like a mock question similar to this somehow, like, or make up. I don't know. I need something.
We can make up one, but I don't know if we're gonna make it as tricky as theirs. We need to. If you have any mock questions hanging around, then look at.
Nobody's seen like.
You know what? There was a really good one on ABA study, whatever, where somebody put all sorts of written signs on top of the toilet